forward where you're the hall.
Okay, there we go. We're recording.
What, gonna send that. Can you send an invite out to Cal McMinn?
I didn't.
Think I can. Hang on. I'm
I
on
think
it.
I can. Okay, I got it.
My step ahead of you, Ryan.
Okay, thanks.
All right. While you're doing that, Dan, I'm gonna go ahead and start here. 7 o'clock. I don't want to take a lot of people's time here. I appreciate everybody getting on. As you guys may or may not know, I'm Dr. Jared Hill, and I am a full-time practicing dentist. I own with Dan Nelson. We co-own Wood River Dental Care here in Haley, Idaho, so by Sun Valley, Idaho, and we also are co-founders along with Ryan Passy of the Elevation Association. And we also, as if that doesn't keep us busy enough, we are the co-founders of the Dental Legacy Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit humanitarian effort in Africa. So, but tonight we want to talk about, I wanted to share my story from vision to victory. I'm 47 years old, turned 48 this year. And last year, or about a year and a half ago, I kind of went on this health journey and decided I was going to get in shape and decided I wanted to do a bodybuilding competition. And there were a ton of parallels that associated with dentistry and leading a practice. And so I wanted just to make those correlations and share that story. And hopefully you'll be inspired to do a bodybuilding competition. No, you probably not. Don't do that. Just whatever this inspires you to do. Just hopefully you'll take some pearls from this and apply them to both your personal life and your practice. So what I wanted to do is I really wanted to take you back to this single moment of where this all started. This crazy this crazy journey that I never thought that I would go down, but here I am. And this is me on stage. This was May 4th, Star Wars Day, 2024. So it was a little over a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. But this journey started about a year before that. So it was one of those mornings that was just, it was one of the mornings where you couldn't sleep very well at night. And I got up, it was early morning, it was dark, it was quiet. It was like, the house was still, the kids were asleep, my wife was asleep, the dogs were asleep. And it was one of those moments, it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, where I got up, I couldn't sleep. And so I went into the bathroom and I was alone in the bathroom and I turned on the light and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. And really for the first time in a long time, I looked at myself and I thought, oh no, how did this happen? Where am I at? It was so strange because you see yourself in the mirror all the time, but I actually took a second, I actually looked at myself and what I saw wasn't who I thought I was. My shoulders were slouched, my eyes were tired, kind of like they are tonight, right? Like my energy was gone. Like it was such a weird phenomenon because I was successful on paper. It's like a lot of you guys are. Most of you guys here today, I'm sure, are probably successful on paper, meaning that the practice is busy, right? The numbers look good, the schedule's full, but I was completely like burned out. Like burned out, it was a real thing. And so I was worn down, I think, trying to be everything to everyone, running a practice, raising a family, volunteering, working, leading the team here. But somewhere along the way, I had like forgotten about myself. I had stopped leading myself, and I got into a place that was pretty difficult to look at and to be okay with myself. And so I had to come to the brutal realization. And the realization is this, and this is a take-home message for all of you guys. As the leaders of your practice, as the owners of your practice, hey Kev, welcome. As the leaders of your practice, you can't pour into others from an empty cup. Meaning, if you have nothing left, then you can't give it all. And so you can't lead your team, you can't lead your practice if you first start leading yourself. So that was my mirror moment, right? That was the moment when I realized I had to make a decision. And that night, that morning, that early morning, it was like, okay, I don't have to be perfect, right? I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have this all figured out, but I have to start. I have to do something. I have to reclaim my health, my energy, my life, and really I have to lead myself, right? I can't pretend to go on leading these other people's if I am in this slouch, this slog, if you will. So so I did. So I made that decision. And it doesn't happen in one leap. It's these small decisions that I made along the way. So why am I sharing this here tonight? Let me there we go. There's my mirror moment. That was me. I was like, look at that, shoulders are slouched, like my eyes are tired. Like I was like, I'm like burned out. Hey, Steph. I was like, I'm so burned out here. And so that was my moment. So I thought to myself, why does this even matter? Right. And I think it matters because the more people we talk to through Elevation Association, the more I realized that I wasn't alone on this journey. Right. Um, the truth is that burnout, exhaustion, feeling stuck, I think are silent haunts for a lot of people within this profession. So um, let me show you why this matters here. I mean, why am I here sitting at this desk talking to you guys about bodybuilding, about mirrors and so forth. Because the truth of it is this, that it's got to start with your vision. So when you start to go down this path, you start to think, okay, here's what I'm going to do. When things start to slow down, when things start to, taper off a little bit, I'm going to start to take care of myself, right? Well, the truth of it is this, it never slows down. You guys can all attest to this. Like, there is no later. It only gets busier. Spoil alert, if you're younger than 47 years old, life only gets busier, especially if you're a practice owner, if you have a family, if you're involved in your community at all. It doesn't slow down. So I had to figure out what my vision was. I had to start with what do I want this to be? Because you can't just say, you know what, I'm going to get in shape. That doesn't work. It's like saying with your practice, like you're saying, you know what, I just want to be successful in my practice. Guess what? That doesn't mean anything. Getting in shape doesn't mean anything, right? So I have these pictures of these guys up here because I wanted to talk about like what each of these means. Okay, so if you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay, so Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, was a bodybuilder, right? So a bodybuilder is, the type of physique contains very large muscles, that may or may not be strong. Like they simply want to have very little body fat, very well defined. They want to be chiseled. They want to focus more on aesthetics necessarily than athletics. Like you're going for a specific look. So if you want to train to become a bodybuilder, if you want this look, then the way that you train to capture this look or to get this look is very different than if you wanted to look like Bruce Lee. Right? If you wanted to have this kind of this lean physique, if you want to have like the martial arts or the boxer physique here, then you're going to do more of a circuit training, and it's going to be very different than bodybuilding, right? This kind of workout focuses on endurance. You are bringing about relative strength and growth, but this is building endurance and stamina. So if your vision is, oh, I want to look like Bruce Lee, you're not going to train like a bodybuilder. You're going to train like a circuit trainer, or there is, maybe you want to be a power lifter. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't care that much about aesthetics. I want to have freaking brute strength, right? That type of training to be a power lifter is very different than the other two types of lifters that we talked about earlier, right? These guys are often competing in the world's strongest man. Maybe that's what your goal is, and that's okay too. But it's a very different type of training, a very different vision. You're going to do things differently on a daily basis than you would if you were training to be something else, right? And then there's also the the CrossFitter, right? So the CrossFitter is more of a high volume training. So it is, the combination between bodybuilding and circuit training. So you're building stamina, but you're also building strength. So maybe you want to look at CrossFitter. If so, I wish you the best. For me, it was very difficult, hard on my body, and I think the CrossFitter body is fantastic. It just the type of training that it took to get there, it wasn't for me. And then the last one is like maybe you want to do like an isometric training. So Olympic athletes who train certain muscle to get into certain positions and be able to hold themselves in this position. You do isometric weight training. Why go over all this? Because your vision is going to define how you get there. And you can't just say, I'm just going to get in shape. If you want to be a marathon runner, you're going to train completely different than if you were to be a bodybuilder. So this is my goal. I actually went on and I created a little Pinterest board, which is embarrassing to say, maybe, I don't know, but I created a Pinterest board and I just pinned a bunch of guys that I thought looked older. I realize now that I probably look like them, but at the time I felt like they look older than me, the kind of what I wanted to be like. But the guy in the top left is the bodybuilder that had, some medals around him. And I'm like, that's my goal. That is my vision. That's what I want to do. And so, I created this board. And so that's where your transformation needs to start, whether in your life and in your practice. In the second half, I'm going to get more into the specifics of the actual practice transformation that you need to do. But this is a good example of your life transformation. So it's got to start with your vision. In the business world, we use this term, BHAG. I hope you're familiar with this term. This is called Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. I think Jim Collins introduced it, or at least uses it. It's used by Gino Wickman and Traction. In a lot of the business books, these guys will throw around this term BHAG, Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. You have to have some sort of bold goal that seems at the time maybe unachievable. Seems like it's crazy. Like, I don't know, getting on a stage and competing in a bodybuilding competition. That seems crazy. That seemed absolutely nuts to me. But I needed something to pull me forward, some sort of goal to pull me forward when my motivation was low. And so your BHAG, your personal BHAG, whatever it may be, maybe it's competing in the CrossFit Games. Maybe it's competing as in the World's Strongest Man competition. Maybe it's a jiu-jitsu contest or whatever it is. You can train and train and train, but if you don't have a goal or something that you're working towards, then you will never push yourself hard enough to get to that point in time. So that is the first step. Find your vision, find your BHAG, define what that is, and set it. I write it down. I said I'm going to compete in this bodybuilding competition. I didn't have a coach. I didn't know what it entailed. I didn't know what the meal plans were. I didn't know I just said, this is what I want to look like. And so if I want to do this, then I'm going to follow this regimen of becoming a bodybuilder. And so that's where it starts. So whatever your personal transformation or your business transformation should be, you need to state what your BHAG is. When it gets to your business, you need to say, in 10 years, what is the potential of my practice? Not me as a provider, my business, my practice. For Dan and I, we set our 10-year BHAG for Wood River Dental Care. Then we define what we will be doing in that, but what can our practice accomplish in that 10 years? What does that BHAG look like? I already talked about the examples for personal BHAGs. Maybe you have a bodybuilding show, a mixed martial arts competition, World's Strongest Man, CrossFit Games, or maybe you just have a goal. Maybe you want to rock climb. Maybe you want to rock climb up to a certain peak. At that point in time, you would train more of a calisthenics type training than you would do anything else. Okay, the second thing here, once I had the discipline, the next step was to do the part that no one loves to talk about. Everyone loves to brag about it afterwards, but doing it was really hard. And this is called I call this the discipline shift. Right. So in order to do that, I had to define my own personal core values. I defined my discipline, my integrity, and inspiration. Those were my three core values that I had within me that pushed me forward. And then I had to create some repeatable systems. So, waking up at 3:30 in the morning every day. And that's not because I'm superhuman. I'm not. I'm tired most of the time, and sometimes I'm cranky. But it was because I knew it was the only time that I fully controlled. Like 3:30 was my time. That belonged to me. The rest of the day belonged to the practice, to the patients, to the family, to the phone calls, the emails, to whatever it belonged to. But 3:30, that was my time. And that was the only time that I could justify doing it. And so I set that time as my goal for my workout times. Plus the gym is empty at 3:30 in the morning, more or less, which helps so you can get on all your machines. Because only weird people go that early in the morning. The other thing is I did my daily meal prep. Okay, so I prep my meals. It's similar to in your practice, you're prepping your procedures, right? So you don't show up and be like, oh, what am I? I'm just root canal. What do I need? You're gonna prep it the day beforehand. Oh, I'm gonna place this implant. Oh, gee, I wonder if I have an implant on hand, or I wonder if I have a stent on hand. You don't. It's not your practice, right? So if you're not gonna practice that way, you don't live that way. You're not gonna be like, oh, I wonder what's for dinner tonight. Well, I guess I'll just make another PB&J or whatever. You need to meal prep your meals in order to be successful. So, the discipline shift is not about it's not just about decisions, right? It's not about being perfection. It is about the decision. So every decision eventually became the person that I wanted to become. So every small one added up as if you were like stepping up on a ladder to become the person that I really wanted to become. So then I started to think, man, this discipline is kind of like leadership in a practice. It's kind of like my role as an owner as a practice, like your role as the owner of your practice. It's not any different than that. And so how could I expect myself to lead my team through these disciplines throughout the day if I can't even be disciplined myself? So a lot of times we sacrifice ourselves in order for the rest of the world to revolve. And I don't think that's the right thing. I think we need to have a mind shift, kind of a mindset change in order for us to do that. So the next thing that you do after you have this after you have this discipline shift, you need to understand the data. Okay, so you need to have a baseline data of where you are. We're dentists. We love data. we measure everything, right? We track everything. We measure margins, probing depths, case acceptance, production per hour. Because what do we know in our practices? We know that if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. Right? And we don't measure it to get rich. That's not what we do. We measure it to improve, to provide better care for our patients. Well, the same thing is true for your body, right? You have to measure it. You have to know which KPIs are most important for you. For me, for my bodybuilding journey, it was body fat percentage, it was my macros, it was my training metrics when I was in the gym, and it was blood markers, my hormone levels. Those are the things that I needed to track for me. So I took a DEXA scan, which gives me those, and then a separate blood panel that I take, every few months just to make sure my markers are right. But what you measure, what you don't measure, you can improve. So I had to treat my body transformation the way that I was treating my practice. I had to measure, I had to track everything. And so it came to the point also where I would take photos every week and submit it to my coach for accountability. Just like you've got KPIs that you look at every single week with your team on your dashboards, right? You need to review those every week in order to be able to catch areas where you may need to improve. And by doing this, I discovered that the body and your practice of business, like they're no different. They're the same. You can't lead from emotion and guesswork, right? You have to lead from data and facts. I spent so many years saying, "Oh, I don't know. What do you think about this?" And I would talk with a team member and be like, "Oh yeah, this feels right. We should increase our fees for this. I mean, we should hire a hygienist because we feel busy." there's so many decisions that we made based upon an emotion that led to nearly disastrous financial results for us. So you can't lead your business practice based upon emotions. You don't want to completely ignore emotions in your gut feeling. I'm not saying that, but you can't lead them based upon emotions and guesswork. Use the data, know the data, and then analyze it, know how to use it, and how to implement changes based upon that. That's what we do at Elevation Association too. When we work with a practice, we do the same thing. We diagnose the problem, we create a plan, we track the progress with discipline, and then we adjust quickly when it needs to be adjusted. So these are principles that go across. So this approach transformed my fitness, because before it's probably like you guys, you go to the gym three times a week, whatever, to stay in mediocre shape, right? Just to not get hurt. But I always ended up getting hurt, I did CrossFit for a couple years, and I love the guys that I went with, but I always got hurt every few months, it feels like. And I felt like I needed a better plan for myself. So whether it's your health or whether it's your business, data is what turns your discipline into results of what you have. So once you have all those things, you're cooking, right? You're getting momentum. And I loved this point when I started to see these changes in my body. I would get on the scale and notice there were changes, and then I'd do a DEXA scan, and my percentage body fat would go down, and it would be like these huge celebrations. And then after a few months, you hit a plateau. Like, all of a sudden it stops. All of a sudden you're like, what happened? All of a sudden the scale is not moving, you're not changing. Or maybe in your practice, you're humming, you're making changes, and all of a sudden, oh man, I'm not producing anymore. I'm not getting, more new patients. Like, my scale had stopped moving personally, my strength had stopped. Like, I wasn't improving my gains anymore. And so what do? You start to question, man, is it worth it getting up this early? 3:30 is so early in the morning. Or do you question the meal prepping? Like, frig, what if it would be that big of a deal if I just had, whatever for dinner? Were the sacrifices, are they worth it? Right. In your practice is the same way. You think, oh man, is it worth it to have these meetings? Is this really, really what I should be doing? I mean, I'm hitting a plateau. We're not really doing anything. Maybe I need to switch programs, or maybe I need to do something else. But the truth is that every leader, every dentist, every owner of a practice, every person who's trying to achieve growth in one way or another, whether it be strength or transformation or whatever, you're going to hit a plateau. And in those plateaus, I learned probably the most valuable lesson that I can learn throughout this whole process. And that is consistency beats intensity. Meaning, just stay consistent, stick with the course. You've laid out a great plan. You may have a week or 2 weeks or maybe a month where you're just not seeing the gains or the changes, whether it be in life or whether it be in your practice. Be consistent. You know that the system works. Just stick with it. The trick isn't to try harder, right? Or panic, right? You need to rely on your data, rely on the trusted habits. You need to double down on your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you having these meetings? Well, you're having these meetings to help you stay on track, because you've set quarterly goals, which are going to help you set your yearly goals, which are going to help you achieve your 3-year goals, which is going to help you achieve your BHAG, which is your big, hairy, audacious goal for your practice. Or for your person, it's for getting on stage and competing in that bodybuilding competition and getting a friggin' spray tan and being judged by how you look. That's what it is. It's absolutely crazy. So I had to remind myself, this is a moment. This is a moment that everybody goes through. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to push through. And for me, this moment in my personal body transformation was about 3 months into it. 3 months, because the first few months I had a lot of gains, a lot of transformation. And so, the exact same principle happens in your practice. You have this case acceptance that stalls, maybe your production flatlines, or maybe your team culture hits a rough patch, right? Maybe you're like, I set core values, we're setting our culture. What's going on? Why are we having this rough times? Well, you don't panic. You persist, you stick with it. Like, this is the system that you've set up Now, this is a system that you need to continue to work on. And guess what? It works. You end up having this transformation. And it is an incredible journey. And then you have this end prize, right? But what you realize too after a while is that getting on stage, the prize isn't what brings you the most joy. Really, the reward, it's not the reward. The reward is knowing that you stuck through it the whole time, that you had the character to stick through it, the whole transformation, to go through to break through those plateaus, to set all those systems, to figure all that out and to work through it. And the same thing happens in your practice. So let's talk really quickly about the parallel to your practice, right? So your business is like your body. Your health is your profitability, your workouts are your systems, your nutrition, your culture. Again, what you don't measure, you can't transform. So you have to start with your vision. What is the big, hairy, audacious goal for your practice? I'm asking you now, do you know what your BHAG is for your practice? Can you state it? And does your team know what your practice is? Sorry, does your team know what your BHAG is? Does the team in your practice know what your BHAG is? Because if not, then they're just showing up to work every day. Right? But if they're bought into the BHAG, if they know where the practice is going in 10 years, it doesn't matter where you fall as the owner within practice. If they know that Wood River Dental Care in 10 years is going to be whatever, an elite cosmetic and implant center, they want to be a part of that, and they're going to help you achieve the goals to make that happen. So start with your BHAG, whatever that is. It doesn't matter what it is. Just sit down and define it and figure it out. The second thing you need to do is start to make some data-driven decisions for your practice. For my health journey, I had to go in and get a scan. I had to have somebody tell me, hey, your body percentage fat is this, your lean muscle mass is this, your bone density is this, this is your weight, whatever it is. You need somehow to find this data for your practice too. Do you know where you can find this data for your practice? Are you in the bottom 10% of these 14 KPIs? Are you the average? Are you the top 10%? Where do you stand within these KPIs? And more important, these are 14 generic KPIs for a general practice. Okay. What are your most important KPIs for your BHAG? Because they're not going to be the same as other people's KPIs for their BHAG. So if you've got a coach that says, oh, hey, I'll help you make $1 million, you need to first define what your BHAG is. Maybe your BHAG isn't that. Maybe your BHAG has to do with something else. And then once you define what that BHAG is, you need to define the KPIs that go with it. Just like if you're going to be a bodybuilder, there's KPIs for that. If you want to be an Olympic ring gymnast, there's KPIs for that. If you want to be Bruce Lee martial arts, KPIs for that. You need to decide what that is and then know how to find those data points and KPIs. Then you need to have a discipline shift. So you need to find what your core values are. What are your systems? What's your core focus? What are you focused on within your practice? You need to define 3 to 7 core values for your practice. No more, no less. We have 7 at Wood River Dental Care. It's honestly, it's a lot. We probably should redefine it down to 5 or so, but it is a lot. And you need to, here's where the discipline shift comes in with core focus and core values. So many people, so many practices will set their core values. Okay, we figured out our core values, our core focus. Okay. And they are printed out, they're beautiful, and they get put into a folder and they get stuck somewhere in some corner and you don't even talk about them until the next yearly annual meeting where everyone's like, hey, do you know what our core values or core focus are? No one has any idea. So here's where the discipline shift comes in discipline shift comes in with the core values, core focus. You have to hire, you have to fire, you have to review and reward, all based upon the core values, and do it on a weekly basis. You can do that several ways. One way that we're doing right now at Wood River Dental Care, I'll share what we do. We have trophies. We have a teamwork makes the dream work trophy, the Yoda effect trophy, everyone's important trophy. All our core values have this trophy. And then we have one member of our team throughout the week, look for an example of another team member exemplifying that core value. And then at the next Monday morning meeting, we have that employee recognize the next employee for that core value. So Shayla will say, "Hey, you know what I saw that that Abby had a little bit downtime. She pitched in with the with sterilization and really helped kept that going while the rest of us were super busy, and she deserves this teamwork makes the dream work core value." And everybody gives her high fives and claps and we celebrate. Then we give a $50 gift card to that team member for the core value. So that is how we reward based upon the core values. In our hiring process, we don't say, "Tell me about your job experience." And we say, "Hey, these are some core values. Let's go over some of these. What do you think about this? What do you think it means when we say laser vision, right? What do you think it means when we say the Yoda effect?" And most of them, if they're under 30, are like, "I've never heard of Yoda," or why baby Yoda? You know, it's very disheartening. It makes us feel very old. We have to explain. We may have to rename that one. It's not quite working as well as we want it to, but we go through all those in the hiring process. So it's very clear to them that if you come on here, that these are the expectations. This we expect you to and be involved in teamwork in order to make the dream work. We expect you to have accountability, laser vision, work hard, play hard. Everyone's important. These things this is all we care about, because the rest of the skills you can learn and we can teach you, but if you have these core values, that's what we care about. And then when you review them every year, you do the same thing. You go over all those core values. This is the discipline shift, and this is hard to do. But the reinforcing of these core values will change the culture of your practice. And people will want to work and stay with you because they know what you expect of them. Okay, overcoming the plateau. Okay, you're going to hit a plateau and it's going to be frustrating because you're going to get momentum and everyone's going to be excited. They're all memorizing the core values. They're all recognizing each other. And then all of a sudden, you're gonna stop. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna have a Monday morning meeting and you'll be like, "Hey, we didn't hit our goal last week or whatever. These are the KPIs that we need to review, and we're in the red in this one and this one and this one." And then you're gonna kind of hit this plateau. And your job as a leader is to stay consistent when the motivation fades. It's your responsibility. You are the business owner. You can't rely on other people to keep the motivation going. It is up to you to keep that motivation going keep that consistency going when the motivation fades, because it will come around. Trust me, we will help you look at the data. We will help you review all your processes and your systems. We'll help you have these meetings. But at the end of the quarter, you're gonna have your quarterly meeting. And sometimes it's gonna be kind of a bummer quarter. You make, "Oh man." But if you are consistent at the end of the year, you're gonna be like, "Holy cow, we were within $10,000 of our $4 million goal," or whatever it is. You're gonna be surprised at how the consistency kept you going, even when the motivation fades. You can't ride this high wave the whole time. You have to keep the end goal in mind. What is that BHAG? And why are we working this quarter? What are we doing this quarter to help achieve that BHAG? So that's overcoming the plateau. Okay, our take-home lessons on this is that your vision, your BHAG for your life or for practice, gives pain to purpose. Right? Like, there are moments, it's not all roses. You're gonna have some painful moments and some bumpy rides, but there's a purpose to that. And as long as you stay consistent, then you will achieve the BHAG. The second take home is the small disciplines compound into massive changes. So it's these small things. It's being consistent, having the weekly meetings every single week. Gino Wickman said there is no excuse for missing a meeting unless you're on vacation or you're dead. Like that's it. Like, you don't say, "Oh, I've got to do it. I've got to run grab this thing at the store. I forgot." There's no excuse for missing the meeting. As a leader, you need to be consistent, because as soon as you start throwing up excuses for missing meetings, that gives the okay for everyone else to go ahead and start to miss those things. These small disciplines. If you are not being a team member, and teamwork makes the dream work is one of your core values, that will kill the culture of your practice, these small disciplines. And the last take on lessons is physical transformation elevates your energy, your focus, and your leadership. Please take care of yourself. You are the most important asset for your practice. And you can't do that if you wake up in the morning and you're red-eyed, your shoulders are drooped, you have, you're tired all the time. You cannot lead your team like you need to if you do not take care of yourself. The way that you lead yourself is the way that you're going to lead your team. Where do you start? Again, just recap. Start with your vision. How do you set a vision? This might have been one of the things that I struggled with most as a young entrepreneur and as a young dental practice owner is I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what my 10-year vision could be. And looking back on it, I thought what was interesting is I would have team members say, "Hey, Dr. Hill, what do you want to do? What do you like to do? Where do you see us going?" I'd be like, "Oh, we're a general dentist practice." I just kind of assumed we did a little bit of everything. And it wasn't until I started to think about this, what is the vision for my practice, that things started to change. So, but I had to talk with other dentists, find a group, find a network. Elevation Association has a tribe where we get together, we can talk, you can fire questions. We have people who are professors at universities, if you want to talk about schooling, or we have, specialists. We have all sorts of different types of large group practices, down to people who have associates, down to single doctor practices. Whatever, you could possibly want to talk about, we have those opportunities. And if we don't, find those, we have got a good resource. We have Matt Mulcock and Ryan Isaac from the Dentist Advisors, who are good friends of ours, who work with thousands of dentists who are willing to talk about all sorts of things. They come every year to our annual summit. This year in Nicaragua, we sat down with them for hours and we drilled them regarding the status of dentistry. What are they seeing from their perspective? You've got to create this network. You cannot allow yourself to stay on an island. Create a network, associate with other dentists, interact, and then that'll help you define your vision of what you want to do. Second is make sure you have your data. How do you access your data? Do you have your office manager try and pull the information from your operating system, like EagleSoft or Dentrix or whatever it may be? Because that's difficult and it's time consuming and it's expensive. And there's a better way to do it. We use Dental Intel. You can use Practice by Numbers. You can use several other different types of softwares to pull data. Whatever it is, make sure you have some way that they pull the data and you can look at it at a glance and then review it. And if you need to dive into it, you can dive into it. But you need to be able to you need to be reviewing that data on a daily or a weekly or monthly basis. And you need to know which data points you need to be reviewing on that point. So if you don't have a system for that, contact us, let us know. We'll help you set one up. It's not that hard. Next would be to set your core values. Make sure you get your culture, set up within your team. Get the discipline going, right? Hire, fire, you review, and you reward, all based upon these core values. Don't do it based upon how good they are at something. The skills they can learn. This is more valuable to them to know that, hey, I think you're an amazing team player. I think that you are really good at laser vision. You stay really focused on the tasks that we've given you. These things are important to them. And lastly, you need to set up your systems and operation. So you can read Traction by Gino Wickman. It's like a play-by-play recipe book you can go through. Or you can do all of this at our Outfitters course. It says in May, but we're sold out in May. We have one coming up in September. And this is a course. It's a 2-day, very intense course. It's a Friday and Saturday where we just knock this out. And we go in and we create your BHAG. We create all these, 3-year, 1-year, quarterly goals, your accountability chart, your core values, your marketing. We create the business plan with you. We help you as a leader create that plan. And that is it. Trust me, if you're to do it on your own, as we did, it took us a long time to do it, but we figured a lot of stuff out within the dental world. and we are excited to help other people do it. Like I said, our course in May is already sold out, but we've got a course coming up in September. We may throw one in July. We've got a couple of people interested in doing that as well. So keep up for that. Okay, final challenge. You can't lead a team, a practice, or a mission if you're not first leading yourself. Again, start with your body, right? Start with yourself. Take care of yourself. And whatever that means to you, it doesn't mean you don't have to do a bodybuilding show. If you want to start walking, do a 5K, whatever it may be, do something to take care of yourself. And then you watch everything else rise. Watch your practice rise, watch everything else to come into it and come into yourself. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming, being a part of this webinar tonight. Hopefully you got something interesting out of it. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding either practice or health transformations. Like I said, I'm a practicing dentist. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. There's a lot of things that I've learned. I've done this bodybuilding competition. I've learned a lot of health things as well. So, I'm happy to share meal prep plans or, workout plans and whatever you think you may want help with. You let me know. This is my phone number. You can go to elevationassociation.com and contact us. And you can do that. And then we have here a QR code. Is that QR code right? Is that for the CE at the end, or is that to go to the EA website? Ryan, do you know? I don't know if Ryan's.
Not sure, Jared. Let me scan it.
I'm gonna say, hang on, I'm gonna scan it as we speak, and I'll tell you where it goes. It goes to our membership.
Okay, so you can check out our membership. Ryan, how are we going to distribute CE to these awesome guys?
I've got everybody's email who's on tonight, and I will ship that out. So
awesome.
yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding tonight or some things we talked about tonight? Awesome. Okay, well, thank you. I hope this helped. Hope you got something from it.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, can you go back to your 3 takeaways just so I can screenshot those for me?
Absolutely. Yeah. Wait, you want to screenshot the pictures or the?
Oh yeah, that's going on my Instagram page right there.
We'll also post this in the school classroom too. So those who are members can have access to it.
Okay, that's good, right? What you want to tell them what school is? School's is a really cool thing that we've got going here. So if you're interested in participating more, Ryan, tell them.
Got a school community going, which is fantastic. It's just a kind of a meeting place for all things Elevation Association. It's got a forum where docs can ask questions or get support, anything they want like that, get other docs inputs on stuff. There's always some good conversations going on. And then we've got a classroom in there with like 30 hours worth of recorded CE where you can, hop on and take CE courses kind of on demand and fill out the eval and get credit for those as well. So just a great place to, again, collaborate with like-minded dentists who want to improve life, leadership, and legacy. And so if you're not on there, I would encourage you to check that out. If you go to our Elevation Association page and go to the login, the member login in the upper right-hand corner, you can find the school page from there and check it out. But again, a lot of on-demand CE, great forum. There's a calendar of events going on in there. So it's a pretty fun place to hang out and get questions answered. We do a daily check-in on some of these things that Jared's talking about, the daily climb, ways that you're working to improve yourself, mentally, spiritually, relationships, those kind of things. So again, just a place to collaborate and share best practices. So.
And that's SKOOL.
SKOOL.elevation association, yeah, would get you there too.
Is in the cool kids club.
Cool kids.
Kids club.
Because everybody knows that if you misspell something on purpose, it's way cooler.
That's right.
That's
That's
how I
right.
buy all my Rolexes. Roleck's.
Yeah, I misspelled everything. Yeah.
A little maybe sneak peek. Ryan is going out of town this coming weekend. He's scouting out our location for February. Next February for our annual Life Summit, where it's for you and your significant other couple summit. Basically, is what it is, where we focus on the development of your life plan, and we work on that quite a bit while we're there. Last year was in Nicaragua. The year before that, El Salvador. Before that, Panama. Before that, Belize. And Ryan's going to scout out our next location, which is soon to be revealed. So it looks amazing.
It's very promising. Yes.
Very promising. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Okay. Next month we'll have a webinar as well. I think who's on next month? Ryan, is it you?
I think it's me next month.
Yeah.
We'll talk about building a tribe. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Hope to catch you guys soon.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jared. Good to see everybody.